Welcome to Be Nice to Yourself podcast that will give you practical tools to finally be nice to yourself so you can stop yelling at your kids and enjoy being a mom. Using coaching and lots of love, I'm your Russian Canadian host, certified life coach, and mom of four, Natalia Schneidmiller. Hey guys, welcome to today's episode on confidence, number 2. This is the second part of confidence series, and today I'm going to give you a lot of personal examples because I want to be example of what's possible for you, and I believe that's how we. That's kind of one of the best ways we learn, right? Really, by watching someone else and thinking, "Oh, well, I can do it too." And it's just more fun to see it. What exactly does it look like in life, right? Instead of being vague. And so last week we talked about how confidence is really your willingness to feel any feeling, the worst feeling in the world. If you're willing to feel it, if you're willing to sit there and feel horrible, which, hello, we do this all the time anyway, right? Because this is part of human experience, is feeling terrible half of the time. If we do that anyway already, and if we're willing to do that, then there's nothing we're not willing to do. There's nothing we're not willing to experience, right? We want to be confident so that we can do whatever it is that we need to do to have the life that we want, right? It could be anything, right? So so that's why I started practicing and 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 so the reason why we want to feel confident is so that we can do whatever it is that we need to do to have the life that we want, right? And if all we have to do is be willing to feel any feeling, and we know that whatever we have to do, we will come with some uncomfortable feelings, right? If we are willing to go to 50 interviews to get the job that we want, well, we might have to be willing to be rejected 49 times until we get that job offer that we want, right? We have to be willing to experience that rejection as many times as necessary to get what we want, right? So if we're not willing to experience that rejection, we're going to stay at home and hide and blame that on our inability, or blame that on an outside world, or blame that on the economy or whatever, right? And we're not going to have the life we want, right? But if we are willing to feel rejected, which is the worst part of being rejected for a job, you just feel terrible, you feel rejected. Then nothing can stop us. We are going to go on 50 interviews, right? We'll go on 100 if we're willing to feel terrible. And how do we do that? Okay? Is by practicing. That is why, for me, in my life, I have dreams. I have big dreams for my business, helping a lot of people, and I have to be willing to, the same thing here, be rejected. I have to be willing to be vulnerable, right? Before I started this for, let's just take Facebook as an example, right? Before I started my business, I never posted any of my thoughts, any of my beliefs on Facebook or Instagram. I would randomly, sometimes cautiously, post a picture of me and my kids happy because I thought they were so cute. But I would never, ever, ever share anything that I'm thinking about life. I was terrified of being judged. I was terrified of people thinking that she is stupid, that she's wrong, and that she's not, just like all the things, all the judgments. I was terrified of that, so I was not willing to feel that. And I did not post, right? I even shut down my accounts. I took them offline. I took them off my phone, and I was living a life. I was being a mom, and I was totally fine, right? I mean, I'm not judging that. This is the best that I knew how to do that, right? Until I learned kind of how you can create confidence for yourself, this is the best I could know how to live my life. I was protecting myself from feeling judged, right? I would not go on social media. Now, to run a business, the business that I want to run, I want to help as many people as possible. And for me to do that, one of the options is for me to go on social media and to offer my services to people, to share what I know. And this is the most fun that I'm having right now, is sharing all the amazing things that I've learned that have changed my life, right? So in the beginning, I had to be willing to feel judged when I would share something on social media. I had to be willing to feel vulnerable, okay? For me to go out there and tell people I'm a life coach on Facebook, on Instagram, I had to be willing to feel that, because that is what is required. That's my brain was offering me those thoughts like, oh no, people will think you're stupid, people won't like you, people will judge you. And I had to be willing to have my brain think that and feel terrible. So I practiced it. I learned from my coaches and I practiced it on purpose. I would post a blog post on Facebook and I would feel maybe shame or embarrassment. If I thought thoughts like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. People are gonna judge. Like, who does she think she is? Wow, like she's really out there. She's believing this, right? Like my brain was coming up with all sorts of things, right? But this is what I did, is I just kept practicing that, because I knew that the worst part about this is not them thinking those thoughts. Because let's be honest, I have no idea what everyone's thinking. I'm in my house posting on social media. I don't know what everyone's thinking, what everyone's feeling. And to be honest, I also do believe that nobody really cares, right? Even if they do see my post, they think about it for a second, they move on to the next post, right? But my brain was offering that, oh no, it's the end of the world. People are judging you. You're terrible. You shouldn't have posted it, right? So I knew that my feeling of inadequacy and being judged was not coming from people. It was coming from my own brain. So because I knew that truth, right? This is me being honest with myself. Okay, let's just be really honest. My feeling is coming from my brain, not from the people. So it's okay. I posted something. I feel vulnerable. I feel judged. And the most amazing thing about practicing is that you do something you don't want to be doing because you're scared, because you're afraid people judge you. And then you show yourself, wait a minute, I did that. People maybe judged me. I judged myself and I didn't die. This is all that it is in a nutshell. All practicing confidence is, hey, I'm afraid of doing this because of that, because of feeling judged or feeling vulnerable, feeling embarrassed. And let me do this here. Once I do it, I feel maybe judged. I feel embarrassed. I feel humiliated. And I don't die. It's just a feeling in my body. And I don't die. Nothing happens to me. I'm not harmed. It's just a vibration in my body that just happened. Now, once I truly got that, holy smokes, you guys, I am truly unstoppable now. Like, there's nothing embarrassing that I'm not willing to do. I'm not willing to risk feeling humiliated, embarrassing, because I really want to share all of what I've learned with everybody, because I think it is life-changing. And I'm willing to risk feeling terrible so that I can serve my people, okay? Now, even before the Facebook practice, I was following my coach's instructions, and she had us do these dares of the day. So it was 30 days of dares of the day, and I'll share a couple with you. And one of them was you had to come up with your own dare of the day, and it had to be something scary, right? And the purpose of the dare was to feel some feeling on purpose. For example, I'm going to do this so I feel embarrassed on purpose. What? Crazy. But to show myself that I can feel embarrassed and it's just a vibration in my body and nothing actually happens to me. Okay? So I'm going to tell you a couple ones that are favorites of mine and like were most impactful. And my husband always refers to them. Just back in the day, I would come up with a dare of the day to feel embarrassed. I would drive up to Starbucks drive-through and I would ask for a free coffee. Right? I am driving up in this nice minivan, right? Me, I'm mom of four, I happen to drive a minivan, right? I know I'm not a homeless person. If I can afford a car, I can probably afford a coffee, right? But I was willing to practice this and have them think things about me that, I don't want people thinking like I'm crazy. I don't want people thinking that, who does she think she is? Why is she asking for a coffee? Has she gone crazy? And just judging me, right? I was willing to practice that. And it was harmless, right? And even if they gave me a free coffee, right, they're still their choice. I'm not forcing anyone. And what's interesting is that, so I would drive up, I would ask them that. And the answer I got was that, oh, let me check with my manager, which was really amusing to me, right? You would expect them either to say yes or no, but I never thought that. So they would go and check, and then they would come back and they would tell me, oh, I'm sorry, no. And that's it. So I would drive away, right? But then my brain, the whole time before and after, my brain was going on and on with these thoughts like, oh no, what are they going to think? They're going to think this, and this is so embarrassing, humiliating. Why am I even doing this? This is stupid, right? So I would feel embarrassed. And after I've done that, it was such an adrenaline rush. It was a thrill. Like there's no reason for me to even do that, right? To put myself through that. But the fact that I did showed me, hey, I can feel embarrassed and maybe humiliated. And the reason I would feel that way is not because of what they're thinking about me in the drive-through, but because of what my brain's thinking the whole time, right? I'm generating that embarrassment for myself. I am generating that humiliation. I'm not feeling anything that they're thinking. I don't know what they're thinking, right? I am projecting all of my thoughts on them. I'm like, oh no, they think I'm stupid. Oh no, they think like I shouldn't be doing this. But it's still my own thoughts, right? So again, I had the chance to own what I'm thinking and see what I'm thinking is generating this humiliation for me. And I would drive away and I would call my mom and I would tell her about it. And I was just so pumped. I was so excited. I'm like, Mom, I did it. It's such a dare. And it's totally fine. I'm like, it's just a feeling. Really, nothing has happened. That person probably now has a funny story to tell someone in their day, or not a funny story. They might be feeling judgmental. They might be like, oh, can you believe this crazy person drove off, tried to get a free coffee? So that was one of them. Now I had to come up with 30 of them. So I was now getting creative. And the next one I really wanted to up my game was to do the same thing, to drive up to a Starbucks and ask, which was really, for me, even now thinking about it, it's like, oh my gosh. I drove up and I said, can I have, I made up this story that is super humiliating and just would make me feel and look like a bad mom. I said, oh, could I please have some free muffins for my kids because I haven't fed them breakfast? Now, even as I say that now, I have all this judgment come up, right? Oh my gosh, I'm a terrible mom. Or, I'm lying, right? I'm lying. Of course I had to fed them breakfast. But for me to even, to elicit that response in my brain, and, they might think that about me, right? They're like, oh my gosh, what a terrible mom. She didn't feed them breakfast. Now she wants us to give her free muffins, right? But I had to create something so outrageous that it would be for sure guaranteed embarrassment and humiliation, right? And I was scared, of course, right? I didn't want to do it. My heart was pumping. But again, the same thing happened. They said no, which I was surprised because you'd think a Starbucks, a big corporation, would feed hungry kids, even though if their mom is crazy, right? But regardless, I was surprised. It's fine. I can feed my kids. But I drove away feeling completely humiliated, and stupid. But again, it was coming from my own thoughts, just sentences I was feeling in my head. And so after I did a couple of them, it was getting really hard to come up with dares, right? Because I'm like, okay, I know I can do this. I know I can feel embarrassed. I know I can feel humiliated. So I'll give you one more example that really, really was a big one for me. Feeling vulnerable, right? So that one is a huge one for me, was a huge one. And now I've gotten so good at it that it's just propelled me beyond where I've ever expected of being. Is being, what does it feel to like to be vulnerable? It feels exposed. It feels open. It feels like I could start crying, right? So, I one of the dares for me to feel vulnerable was to call up my parents and to tell them I love them. I know a lot of people say I love you to their parents all the time, but I moved away from my parents about now 10 years ago and moved from Toronto to Calgary. I'm in Canada. And I was missing them a lot, but I was not allowing myself to miss them. And because I love them so much, I would call them a lot, but I was also not allowing myself to really feel that missing and feel the love and feel all that, all of the emotion that will come up. So I wouldn't tell them I love them just because I'm like, yeah. I don't want to go there. Like, don't make me go there because I'm going to cry because I can't see them. Right. Which all of that I didn't know when I was doing the dares, and when I had to come up with doing the dares, this is what I realized. Like, I don't want to tell them I love them because I'm afraid I'm going to start crying and I'll be like, like just such a mess, right? I didn't want to feel that. I didn't want to be overwhelmed with emotion. So I never said I love you. So one dare of the day, I had like two dares. Like one day I called my mom and I had to tell her I loved her, and I had to be willing to feel all the feelings that had come up. And it was scary, and I didn't want to do it, but I did it, and I showed myself that I can feel it, and I didn't die, right? Like, it's fine. And actually, the more you allow these feelings, the more you process them, the less you have to be afraid of them. You make space for them. So that was a huge one for me. And so all of these examples that I've shared with you have been just completely necessary for me to create the life of my dreams. And here's why. My coach always says, she says, the discomfort is the currency for your dreams. And what she really means here is that you have to be willing to feel shitty, to feel vulnerable, to feel embarrassed, to feel humiliated. You have to be willing to feel uncomfortable so that you create the life that you want. Here's how I did that. Because I was willing to do those dares, I showed myself I could do it. I was then willing to share my life story, my all of my coaching journey on social media to such a degree that I am now able to help people that find me on social media, and I am living the life of my dreams. I'm living my business. I have a business because I was willing to be embarrassed, to be humiliated. I was willing to be vulnerable, right? With being vulnerable with my parents and feeling my emotions. I now am able to do that to such a degree that is actually helpful to people. They tell me that I'm being an example for them and they are inspired. They want to be confident like me. They come to me and bring me their life problems, and I am honored to help them. And I was able to create that life for myself because I was willing to feel all the worst feelings in the world. And I am so proud of that willingness. And this is all that's required of you, is be willing to feel any feeling. All of your dreams will be on the other side of that. All of them. The life that I'm living now, like, if me being willing to drive up to Starbucks and ask for that is now, it gave me confidence that I could do anything. And now I have confidence that I can have a life that is full of having a business, running a household, taking care of 4 kids, managing an employee, and still having dates with my husband, right? I'm still making sure I am living the life that I want, going on vacation, seeing friends. Meanwhile, I'm also in the life coach school, and I'm also growing a business. I'm not just running a business, I am actually growing, which is requiring me to do all of the work of growing the business, right? So this is a full life that I am able to live, not because I'm lucky or because I was born confident, but because I put a lot of work in and a lot of uncomfortable moments in my life to now live this life. And the fun part is that I did all this uncomfortable work so that I can have more uncomfortable moments now because I'm still growing and learning. So I hope, I am sure this will be inspirational for some people and it will give you some ideas of how you can expand your confidence. And would be thrilled and just so honored if you would share all of the things that you are daring yourself to feel. Tag me on Instagram. You can follow me. You can send me direct message, coaching_Natalia. I would be just so excited to share that in your journey of building your confidence. And that is all I have for you today. It is available to you. I work with all my clients on their confidence and what it is. And all it comes down to is one moment of feeling confident from thinking a thought that creates that for you. That's all it is. It's nothing more, nothing less. It is available to you today, tomorrow, and the day after. And it is available to you even after you feel self-doubt. All right, my friends, I love you so much, and I will talk to you soon. If you are someone who is ready to stop beating yourself up, to be confident, to connect with your kids, come and have a free session with me where we talk about what you're going through in your life, where I can help you right away, and how I can help you in the future. Okay, you can find me on Instagram. I am under coaching_Natalia, or you can go to www.coachingnatalia.com. I will talk to you soon.